There we go. Okay. Can I have a motion to go back into public session?
So moved.
So moved.
Can you all
Second.
hear me okay?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, can I, welcome to Yorktown Central School District Board of Education meeting,
Can you hear
Monday, April 27th, 2020.
hear me?
What?
Who's that, Anthony talking?
No,
Or
Ron.
Ron?
I'm sorry.
Ron?
It's Ron's bad connection.
Ron froze, so keep going, we'll get him
I
back.
think so.
Okay, can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for our armed forces and those in our community who have lost loved ones, especially those who have passed of COVID-19. And then also a moment of reflection for those healthcare workers, first responders, and all essential personnel who are working tirelessly during the COVID-19 pandemic.
I pledge allegiance
To the
to the
flag
flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one nation,
nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have this, you have too many, you have a double superintendent's report in here. We're going to public comment. We had asked people to send in questions or comments by 4 p.m. Yvette, did we receive any?
No, we have not.
Okay, so we can move on to our superintendent's report.
Very good, thank you. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to April 27th. It's hard to imagine that we are entering week 7 of our school closure. So this evening, as part of my report, I'll be speaking about our budget for just a little bit. I'll ask Cole to assist in the delivery of that presentation. But I also do want to share some, I'm sorry, there are some microphones that are still on.
Everyone should just mute their own at this time. Possible? Okay.
Perfect. Okay. Very good. So we'll talk a little bit about the budget this evening. I also just want to provide a very brief update on some other matters of the operation in the district. So I will just begin by sharing, we have graduated our remote learning platform to include some synchronous learning support sessions and some synchronous learning support opportunities. So we are excited to be able to offer this to our students. We understand that not all students will be able to partake in live synchronous sessions. There are just so many challenging circumstances that our students are facing, and they are just heartbreaking as you learn more and more about them. So we understand that not all students will be able to log in synchronously to work with their peers, to work with their teachers, but we thought it was a really, really important component to include in our remote learning session plan. So with that said, parents will begin to see that this week. The teachers began that this week. I am so grateful to our faculty and staff for embracing this as an opportunity to connect with their students, to continue to advance the curriculum. We always talk about the eventual reopening of schools, and we want our students to be positioned well when that happens. With regard to just some thanks that I'd like to offer, there are so many people who are working behind the scenes to make this happen, make the synchronous learning opportunities, make the remote instruction, make the childcare program that we have for children of first responders and medical professionals happen, to continue our free and reduced price lunch program. Families need that now more than they ever have. So I really just want to thank so many people, honestly, for this. I also our technology department has been nothing short of spectacular. Our clerical employees who are organizing so much of the data have been wonderful. David Leese, our director of data, has been just remarkable in his work. Our business office has been phenomenal. Our facilities and custodial crews led by Dennis Verbois have been remarkable. They have been available. They have ensured that the operations continue as best we can. And I really appreciate the work of our administrators in leading the buildings remotely. It is a very different type of environment when you take a organization and an institution that has conducted itself and conducted its business in a similar way over the last 100 years in a face-to-face brick and mortar format. Of course, we've evolved, we've included new technologies and wonderful technologies, but it's been face-to-face brick and mortar. And to have to take that and move it remotely and digitally in a matter of weeks is a monumental task. Our faculty, staff, administrators have been nothing short of remarkable. So I acknowledge all of their hard work. Our custodians have been amazing, clericals, and our childcare workers. We have 3 wonderful childcare workers who are coming in, day out, to make sure that our first responders and our medical professionals have care for their children as they go out and work on the front lines. With regard to just a couple of things that you may have read in the news with regard to some contractors, I just want to share with contractors that with our board that the district is acting on guidance from the state education department and legal counsel. We're awaiting guidance. There are a lot of unanswered questions. I don't think, in fairness to the state education department, I don't think they were prepared for the entire institution of K-12 education moving to a remote platform. So the guidance, I understand that it's frustration producing, but I think we have to understand where they are in this, that they were thrust into this as well. So they may not have all of the answers. One of the answers that we're waiting on is payment to contractors when contracts don't necessarily permit those payments. So we're awaiting guidance from the state education department, from the governor's office as to whether that would be permissible, whether it's legal or not, and whether we would receive aid on payments made to contractors. So we're working through all of those details with the state education department. They have done a wonderful job under the circumstances. And I just think things are changing so fast, and they really are doing their best to keep up with the changes as they happen. Before we go to the budget conversation, I do want to share a piece of good news. U.S. News and World Report puts out their annual rankings of high schools. And in 2020, now mind you, there are over 14,000 high schools in the country. In 2019, I'll start with, Yorktown had a rating of 635, excuse me. Now, that means whatever that means. It's 635 based on the metrics that they calculate. In 2020, we jumped 109 spots nationally to 526. That is remarkable, remarkable growth. Again, by whatever metric that they use to define that growth, regardless, to already be so highly rated and ranked, and then to jump 100 spaces from there is just a tip of the hat to Mr. DeGennaro, his administrative team, the teachers of Yorktown High School, the students of Yorktown High School. They're the ones performing, as well as the entire K-8 community as well, because Mr. DeGennaro is always the first one to say that a really strong high school has a foundation in its K-8 program. So just a tremendous recognition for the high school, tremendous recognition for the district. I'm just so proud of the work that our teachers, students, and administrators are doing in all regards. Now, we'll pivot to the budget presentation. Mr. Cole has prepared a few slides to share, because when we last discussed this when schools were in session, there are some things that have changed. So actually, there are many things that have changed, and Mr. Cole will speak to those items. One of the things that we also need to speak to is the timeline for the budget vote. So what we do know is that the budget vote and annual trustee election will take place after June 1st. We don't know when that will be. We just know it's after June 1st. We're awaiting more guidance on the process, on the date, on the timeline. Everything backs up from the date of the budget vote. So there is a budget hearing 14 days before. The property tax cap has to get filed. The report card has to get filed with the state 24 days prior to the date of the budget vote. So that means that at least 25 days prior to the budget vote, the board would need to adopt the budget. So we're working through some of the details, but as recently as I believe it was yesterday, State Budget Director Rob Mojica indicated that the numbers are still settling and will continue to change and will likely change up until May 15th. So we're in a little bit of a holding pattern. We obviously have a plan. We obviously understand the circumstances that are facing the community, and we are deeply sensitive. And the board is certainly very sensitive to the taxpayers in the community. We want to advance program. We also want to be respectful of the taxpayers in our town. So these are all the things that are going into the calculus and the development of the budget as we look at what our needs are and what our expenses are and projected revenues are, all the while not knowing exactly where our revenues will be. And we expect to have that information more crystallized in the middle of May. So Tom, at this point, I will turn the presentation over to you to share the slides.
Thanks, Dr. Hatter. Yvette, if we could go to the next slide, please. So just to recap where we've been, we started the budget process and we concluded 6 budget presentations by March 9th. And it was shortly thereafter that we had to close schools based on the governor's order. At this point, we do not, as you said, have a date for the budget vote, but we will wait till at least the 15th of May to adopt the budget because we're looking forward to some potential cuts, and we'll get into those a little bit further on in the presentation. Yvette, if you could, just next slide. So what we're looking at immediately as a result of the pandemic influence is a loss of revenue, and it takes a variety of forms. In the 2021 budget year, we're expecting our county sales tax to decline by about $400,000. A quick poll of most of the school districts in the region, 30% discount on that revenue seems to be what everybody's factoring in. Currently at French Hill, you know, we are leasing that facility out. We are not receiving any rents at French Hill. All of those businesses have been impacted significantly. So we're expecting at least a 50% reduction in total rents collected next year. And then we're looking at reductions in deposit account revenue. The banks are not paying interest as they were even 3 months ago. So we're looking at a significant loss of revenue there. Then we have the final state legislative budget that came out. And between that and some other pieces, we're looking at right now a decline of about $1.3 million in state aid. So we're looking at what we estimate currently to be at least a $1.9 million revenue shortfall. Now, Dr. Hatter did indicate that the state is talking about 3 inflection points. First one coming at May 15th, where we expect that we may have our current year aid reduced. And then next year, there are 2 more points. If revenues do not meet the target numbers for the state budget, they will indeed cut state aid again. And the numbers that are being thrown around right now are about 20% if they have to cut. To us, that means somewhere between $3 and $3.5 million in additional revenue that we'd have to make up. Yvette, if you could, the next slide, please. So what are we doing to deal with these reductions in anticipated reductions in aid? Well, we are doing everything we can to increase our cash position in the current year in terms of fund balance. So we're going to be using what we believe will be about $3.5 million in cash reserves to plug the gap of the $1.9 million additional revenue shortfall, in addition to the $1.6 million we had already committed to reducing the tax rate. So next year we expect to use $3.5 million. Now we're increasing our cash position because we don't have certain costs in the current year. So for the latter part of the year, obviously fuel and electricity, those costs are way down as the buildings are not occupied. We don't have certain costs like substitute teacher costs and other contractual costs where providers are not providing a service to us. Even though we're going to commit this $1.9 million, we expect that we will have to reduce the budget further. And those conversations have already begun, and we're going to do that on the cost side. And we expect somewhere in the region of about $500,000 of cost reductions, although those have not been finalized yet. So that's where we find ourselves in the current environment. We have a plan, and we believe we are nimble enough at this point to react to any new additional variables that come our way. And those variables will be in the form of possible additional state aid cuts in the current year and next year.
Okay. But before I exit out of this, does anybody want to go back to a slide for any reason or other?
I want to know, just wait, I want to see if people want to ask questions. Lisa, did you have any questions you want to ask?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you, Tom.
Mike?
No, I'm good.
Peter?
I'm good.
Anthony?
I'm good.
Rashmi?
I'm good, thanks.
Cheryl?
I'm good, thanks.
All right. So I'm going to assume that this is just going to be the first of additional presentations that are going to come as you work through whatever other cuts and information comes from the state. It's kind of a flowing type of a situation right now.
Yes, we're going to wait
Yes.
for the 15th, but the superintendent will make his presentation once we feel we're in a position to do that.
And I do want to be
Terrific.
clear
Thank
in terms of the reductions that we're looking at. There were some really important positions that we were looking to include in the budget for the coming school year. So some really important positions and strategic spots. In light of the circumstances, we may forego those for a year. We're looking at materials, supplies, fuel contingencies. We're trying to stay as far away from the student in the classroom as we possibly can, because for all of us, that's really our North Star. That's what really is guiding our moral compass, is children in a classroom and making sure that they are as well positioned as they can be. So the reductions that we're looking at reducing some capital project lines. We're looking at reduction in our fuel oil budget, looking at some positions that were not necessarily in the district at this point that we were strongly considering, so we'll forego those. So that's the approach that we're taking. If you'd imagine a series of concentric circles, we're working through a series of concentric circles with the child at the center of those circles, with our students at the center.
And the goal right now is to try to, with those cuts, to try to keep the tax rate low enough for the taxpayer. Is that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a profound sensitivity to our taxpayers. I'm a taxpayer too, so I completely understand that piece of it, and I am so sensitive, and the board is, and the board has demonstrated year after year with all the zeros, and this board actually reduced taxes 2 years ago. So we are profoundly sensitive to the taxpayers in the community, and we're balancing that with the programs that we need to provide to our students.
Terrific. Thank you. We're going to do some board reports. We can start with Audit Committee. Rashmi?
So Tom and Alicia have been working with our internal auditors and also the Audit Committee on the intensive review for this year. And the area, as you will remember, was cash handling and fundraising practices. The audit report will be presented at the May 11th meeting and should be filed shortly after. This will be after the April 30th filing date, but given everything that's going on, I think we will still be in good shape. Would you like to add to that?
No, I think that's perfect. We did, as a matter of fact, we had a video meeting with the internal auditor today. We've already gotten a revision to the first draft, and we really do appreciate the input of Rashmi and Lisa Roll into the report. Your comments have been incorporated, and we should have something back to you within the next 48 hours.
Wonderful, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. We'll go to Fiscal Advisory. Mike?
So the Fiscal Advisory Committee met the morning of April 10th via video, and much of what was just presented was what we reviewed. current budget situation, current balances, cash reserves, future funding needs, future tax rates, et cetera. And we'll continue to discuss that with administration as we finalize things.
Thank you. Policy, Cheryl?
I have nothing new to report. We were supposed to last meet on March 17th, but at that point, we were following the governor's recommendation to close, and so we canceled the meeting, and we'll probably reconvene and have some probably virtual meeting shortly. So I'll report after the next meeting we schedule.
Thank you. And then for steering committee, the steering committee has recommended that several projects, we had several projects in the pipeline. We had one that was working on gym, the bleachers outside, the concession stand, air conditioning in large spaces in the buildings. That job had been approved by Ycsd. The steering committee has recommended that we don't move forward with it this summer. We don't go out to bid. We hold off until we know what's going on with COVID and the community and finances until next year. We did have two other projects that were further along. The bids had been awarded. Materials had already started to be purchased, and that was for the Brookside Servery and the Mohansick Nurses Suite. Both of those have been deemed critical to our buildings, and so we are going ahead with those. Just so you know, there's a strict protocol for how the contractors can work. There can only be one trade on site at a time. There's got to be social distancing. There are reports that have to be filled out by every worker before they come onto our site, or as they come on before they can work. So they're trying to manage this project in as safe a way as possible. So we will start some work in Brookside, some outside work next week, and then it will stop until, at this point, the end of June, when school lets out. Did anybody want to add anything? Ron, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you captured it, and I think everything you said is completely as I understood it.
Thank you. We have some board action items. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes for the March 30th, April 3rd, and April 20th meetings?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Can I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report for March 2020?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Can I have a motion to approve the extra classroom activity report for March 2020?
So moved.
So- Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Personnel, upon recommendation of the superintendent, a motion that the following be approved. Under certified personnel, we have a correction, and under classified personnel, we have a resignation for the purpose of retirement.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Business office, a motion to approve the Geese Relief vendor agreement for the period of July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021 for a fee of $325 per week pending receipt of the required insurance documents. The total cost not to exceed $8,125. There is no increase to the budget.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Payroll processing services, resolved upon recommendation of the superintendent and as per the request for proposal 2018-19-05, the president of the Board of Education of the Yorktown Central School District is hereby authorized to execute an agreement with Management Advisory Group Business Operations for payroll processing services for the period of July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021, with annual renewals for a total of up to 5 years at discretion of the board. This is year 3 of 5.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Medicaid services, a motion to approve the contract with Management Advisory Business Group Operations to provide preparation, submission, and collection of present and future services rendered with students with disabilities in the district at a rate of $6,200 plus reimbursement for all reasonable travel expenses, including mileage and lodging, if the district requests more than 2 visits per year, effective July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Budget transfers, a motion to approve the budget transfers as listed below.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Athletic mergers, a motion to approve the following athletic mergers for the 2021 school year. Girls swimming with Somers High School. This is the first year. Gymnastics with Somers, Henrik Hudson, Croton Harmon, Briarcliff, and Somers. That's a repeat merger. Varsity freshman hockey with Brewster, Somers, and North Salem. That's a repeat. And boys swimming with Somers, and that's a repeat merger.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? PIPS, a motion to approve the following Yorktown Congress of Teachers professional improvement proposals listed below.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Special education, a motion to approve the following placements as of April 27th, 2020.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Gifts, grants, and donations, a motion to accept with gratitude the following gifts, grant, and donation. $216 from Your Cause LLC trustee for New York Life's employee matching program to the Yorktown High School.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're up to board comment. Cheryl, anything?
I don't, thank you. I don't have anything.
Rashmi?
I'm good, thanks.
Peter?
No, nothing.
Anthony? Anthony, put your mic on, say yes or no.
I said
That
just
means no.
everyone stay safe.
Thank you. Mike?
No, not at this time.
Lisa?
Everyone stay well.
I just want to thank the administration, thank all the teachers and everybody for the hard work they did. I think we're very fortunate here in Yorktown that our teachers and our staff and our administration have stepped up big time for this, so we really appreciate it and we thank you. Ron, Lisa, Tom, anything?
Just to add, I just want to congratulate Bonetta Vieira, 31 years retiring from the district. She has been a fixture in that middle school nurse's office and just so pleasant and uplifting to be around. I know I've enjoyed my interactions with Bonetta. And also May 11th at the Board of Education meeting, we'll be virtually celebrating our faculty and staff who are being awarded tenure or being recommended for tenure, I should say. We have 18 individuals who will be recognized that evening, and it should be a very wonderful and inspiring night.
Lisa, you good? All right. So can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, everybody, thank you very much and good night.
Good night.